Hello and welcome to episode 151 of Reanimated. This is your sorely missed edition. We've been gone off the air for, I don't know, like a month and a half. Maybe, yeah, it's about all of August, basically, and half of September. Life.
Yes.
It's a real mother. I'm Stuart. I'm here on the West Coast, and joining me, as always, is East Coast HA. What's up?
Nothing much. Very happy to be back, though.
It's rough when we can't talk about zombies. I don't know. Have you had an increase in Z dreams in the absence of us being able to?
Actually, I have.
You know, yeah.
But usually those are also partly due to work stress, and this past month has been really, in terms of stress level with work, up there. So I can't say it's one or the other, but I think it contributes, definitely.
Yeah, it's you need this counseling. It lets us kind of just air our grievances.
True.
Oh, and speaking of grievances, we're going to review Fear the Walking Dead episodes 9 and 10, the mid-season premiere that just recently happened. We were going to do Viral, or Virals, which I think we both watched. It was on Netflix.
We did, and I think we can do that soon, but I feel like this is more on point, and and these first two episodes are interesting to talk about, so I thought timely we should do this.
Yeah, and then also timely are a couple of news items that we've highlighted this week. And so first up, we've got a YouGov poll in the UK, got picked up by a few different news sources, most tellingly, I guess, because it was something like a quarter of 18 to 24-year-olds have a zombie... No, actually, it was a quarter of 18 to 24-year-olds have a zombie survival plan, but only 10% of Britons have one.
Right.
Which they're like, wow, that's really low. And I'm like, dude, that's absurd. Why would you... Only a few people out of the norms tend to have a zombie survival plan.
Well, I think they're looking at it more as a crisis survival plan, and that's how they're kind of reading it. But I just think it makes sense, the section of the population that does have specifically a zombie apocalypse survival plan. But they look at it, and this is why all the governments put these like fun little things in place, including our wonderful CDC, just about putting like a plan in place in case of a pandemic or something like that, or natural disaster. And you even saw a little bit of this, Florida. They were kind of like pushing this when Irma was like coming through, and so, I get why they're worried about it, that nobody has like a disaster survival plan in place, but I don't know that they can read too much into it, that they're surprised that, your boomers don't have a zombie survival plan in place.
Yeah, it's also telling that the poll suggests that about half, a little less than half, the people would shelter in place, like stay hole up in their house or the home of a friend. And then about another little less than half would, quote unquote, gather supplies, which I think is just code for go looting.
Yep.
Which is another thing we got to see in the wake of Harvey and Irma.
Right.
Although at Harvey, I feel like the media narrative was more like, these are people who are starving and just trying to get food. And then after Irma, it was more like, these are people who just want stereo equipment and shoes.
Right.
At least that's the way I've been reading it.
Did you see that viral photo that went out of the vegan meat section?
No,
in Texas,
was it fully stocked?
Fully stocked, and something was like, in Texas, the only thing that you can have to survive is vegan meat, and it's like Texas takes a collective swig of whiskey and says, "I'll see you in hell," and it's like everything is bare next to it in the shelves. It was pretty funny.
Pretty funny.
But not so funny, and I mean this is one of the things that we're seeing now, just in the aftermath of these hurricanes, and there's more coming. I saw today that there are maybe 3 potentials that might be hitting these poor islands again. Some of these islands have been evacuated, and part of the reason why is because 90% of the structures have been destroyed, but also there's no ability to get water. And I think Puerto Rico still doesn't have, it has electricity in portions of the island, but a lot is still out, and they just don't know how long it's going to be. And people just start getting a little, like, as you would imagine, crazy and upset. And maybe this is why they should all have zombie apocalypse survival plans in place.
Or at the very least, a life straw.
Yes, definitely a life straw. Man.
Man. Speaking of hurricanes, Irma has also caused The Walking Dead production to shut down for the second
Yep.
time this season, both times for terrible, terrible reasons.
Yep.
But you got to wonder how this is going to affect the rollout of the show. It's supposed to be usually comes out around Halloween, and I don't know that that's pushing any release dates back because they're probably working on later episodes. But still, this season seems to be a little beset, doesn't it?
Yep. But maybe it makes it a little bit more realistic in terms of some of the things that they have to contend with. Like, I don't know.
I mean, they kind of had a hurricane episode, that one when they were in the barn, and
Yeah. Well, was that a hurricane or tornado? More about.
I don't think Georgia has tornadoes.
Yeah, they do sometimes.
Finally, Ellen Page has premiered a zombie movie. She was in it in the Toronto International Film Festival, and the BBC wrote up an article saying, "Hey, you know what? These poor zombie movies just aren't catching a break when it comes to awards." They're saying that there's a touch of snobbery in the approach to our beloved genre, and I guess, yeah, I mean, of course, it's an underdog genre. I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that too, and it's part of what makes it fun. And I think it also makes for more interesting movies because they're not as afraid to take risks as other genres are, just because they're not necessarily in it for the awards. But I did see that IFC was IFC Films basically now has the distribution rights to the film, which is called The Cured. And despite this snobbery, it did get very strong reviews during this film festival. So we'll see. It looks like it's going to come out in spring of 2018, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, there seems like there's been a few more getting made lately, and Ellen Page was also quite optimistic about the genre itself, even beyond just the film that she was in. That she thinks that it seems to be turning around. At least that's what the way the article seemed to be leaning. So that's cool. I'm happy. I would be happy to see a resurgence in quality.
Yes.
Well, as well as some chaff. You always need
some of the chaff to
go
keep the machine running. Definitely.
Yeah. But I guess those are the main news topics that I'd seen. Is there anything else that you'd seen out there, HA, that you want to mention?
Not really. I guess the only thing was from your hometown, the zombie dogs that people are seeing around are actually coyotes.
You're right.
No, I'm not kidding you. They're infected.
No, I know. I saw this article. I saw this. It was in the Tribune, and it's just a bad mange.
It's a really bad mange. They look a little rough. These poor coyotes, but not zombies, just coyotes. So there you have it.
Yeah, there was a bit of a scare though when they first were seen in the suburbs. People were like, "Oh, stay inside."
Well,
but
I will say that when coyotes get that comfortable and coming into like suburban neighborhoods, it's a little concerning because it means that they just don't care anymore. So
yeah, I mean, Chicago's weird that way though. They'll occasionally get mountain lions in neighborhoods in the city, not even in the suburbs. Yeah, it's very rare, but they've been seen and shot in downtown Chicago, as well as foxes are very normal there. There's a lot of urban foxes, and so I wouldn't be surprised that coyotes would make their way into the city either.
There was an incident here in New York several years ago where a coyote ended up in like the freezer section of a bodega, like he was sitting in the cold drink section, and just totally scared. Who knows where he came from? But it was just like a very strange thing to happen. Maybe he was from Central Park. Who knows? But yeah, like I guess sometimes they just get through and they're going to come to where they're scavengers too. They're going to come to where the food is. So I guess that makes sense. That's all I got for news.
That's all I got too. So let's crack this one open on episodes 9 and 10. Minotaur, or some people call him a Minotaur. I like Minotaur. And then the Diviner is the second one, but they ran together as like one unit. Mm-hmm. So the first one, Minotaur, is episode 9. It was directed by
Stefan Schwartz.
Stefan Schwartz, and written by Dave Erickson, the showrunner, and Mike Zunick. And it had an audience of 2.14 million. Do you have an overall takeaway from this mid-season premiere?
Well, one is, why would you ever leave Troy alive? that is my overall takeaway.
Yeah, that's mine too. That's
And
mine too.
even as this episode continued along this theme about Troy, it's like, no, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. He is clearly poisoning the well in terms of any kind of cooperation between the Native Americans and the ranchers, and just everything that he does. I just don't, even at the end, Madison, like, total spoiler alert, like, Madison doesn't shoot him, and I guess I just don't understand why you would leave this character alive. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
No.
And even with the idea that he would be martyred, well, you know what? Nobody would have known if she had shot him out there. So I just, like, that whole theme I found very tiresome. The idea of these two groups having to come together and figure out how to live together, that was a lot more interesting to me. And I guess Troy was a good and effective, point of contention to kind of bring the fears and concerns of the ranchers to a head, I guess. But it just seemed a bit contrived. I think what is interesting is just how neatly Madison was able to handle everything, apparently with the death of Otto. But I don't know. It just it dragged a bit to me. And just that repeated theme kept coming back. I mean, Troy has had to die so many times.
Yeah, this show they've set up a problem in Troy. Like, they've made him too bad.
Right.
They've made him basically unredeemable, irredeemable from the beginning.
Right.
When we first met him, he was already like, when we've said this, and so now they've tried to inject some like sensitive side to him where we're supposed to see him as a weak, wounded bird or whatever, but no, that doesn't.
He's a
sociopath.
Really
Yeah,
and he's kind of taken the place of Chris as most hated character, I think, or that's kind of where he's.
No,
well, no, I mean he kind of has taken on this. I mean, Chris wasn't a villain in the same way, but that's kind of what they've set him up to be. This character that nobody gets along with. I
still think that's unfair to Troy because Chris was so unlikable.
I didn't say it worked. I just said that maybe that was the intention.
I think Troy could be a good bad guy, but he can't be a bad guy who lives with the good guys.
Right.
But that's what he's been, and now I guess he's not. But he's going to come back, and it's going to be a disaster.
Of course he is. And this is the thing. Madison knows he's going to come back too. No, there's no question about the fact that he's going to come back. He's even told them that he knows his way back. So that's.
But you mentioned, you used the phrase "poisoning the well," and yes, that's clearly what he's doing. He's like talking to Terrence, the ginger who tries to, I don't know what he's trying to do. He just shoots somebody and starts a war. But it's funny because Tanaka also uses the phrase, "Who was dripping poison in that kid's ear?" And I'm like, bad choice of words, Walker. You literally just poisoned this camp.
Right. And that's the other thing. I think okay, so you're gonna bring in Ophelia, who basically did poison that camp.
Yep.
And I just don't think they would even tolerate her presence there enough. And I think that that's something that they would have had to have addressed. I don't believe Taka would have taken that chance. I think they would have had to figure out some alternative living situation for her. Just because look, some people are still sick from what she did. Granted, she was she didn't know that that's what she was doing. She just thought it would make them like kind of sick.
There were like 20. Remember, there were like 20 bodies.
Right. There's no way
they killed a lot of people.
There's no way they let her into that camp. Okay. And if you're going to have any kind of a peace or anything to begin with, that is not the way to start it out. And there's all this sort of posturing and things like that, which it just felt very contrived to me. So, I think there was a lot of interesting ideas for them to explore, and I just don't feel that they did explore them very well.
I never was really clear that that the Black Cats were moving into the ranch.
Me neither.
Like,
And
there was no exposition to just explain why they were moving in, and then the reason for them moving in was ostensibly water.
Right, and then Otto's death allowed them to do that, and all this fun stuff.
But then water turns out to be the one thing that this place doesn't have too.
Well, but also, can we just talk about that for one moment, please? We've seen how much water they have. Unlikely. Look, there's like a whole lake. You know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of drying up. But yeah, there's no way there's no way they would have ever built on this land if it had such a shallow aquifer And there's only like 100 people there. There's no way that 100 people could go through.
That much water. Yeah. And we saw Alicia jump into what was their water source, basically.
Hmm.
And there's just enough of that left that I just don't. This seems like a completely, oh, let's just make the water run out. And it just seems ridiculous to me. But,
Well, they've been working towards this since the beginning of the season with the dam
right.
storyline.
Right.
So
Which we
like this
kind
was
of were
always their plan.
we were expecting it. I know, I was too, but I didn't expect it. I actually thought what they were going to do with the water is that it had anthrax in it, or it had somehow been contaminated as opposed to running out, which I think would have made a better storyline. But then I guess you don't have them like going off to like the, I don't know, tensions mounting and all that kind of thing. But
Or have like a source of water that neither the tribe nor the ranchers controlled, and that was the source of their conflict or something.
right,
And then when they get to it, they realize it's not going to be enough or
right,
something like that.
something.
But this does seem very contrived and quite convenient in a way that is just like writer's room convenient.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating. Crazy Dog is not a helpful person.
Nope.
I don't. Once in a while, he comes across like okay, like he takes Claw's knife away at the beginning. I don't understand why they're doing weapon searches at the beginning of their cohabitation, but then the very next day, they apparently aren't, which is why Terrence can sneak a pistol into the community area.
Right. It seems strange. Also, his name is Crazy Dog, which I think
He
just
said
sets-
that was the name given to him by the military, by his
I
like
know,
brothers in arms
but
when
I'm
he
just
served.
saying, you're putting a dude named Crazy Dog in charge of everything. I don't know that that's gonna give people confidence.
Yeah, he's no good. He's no better than Troy, in
Nope.
my opinion.
Nope.
And yeah, like this kind of goes into the next episode. But why? God, I've forgotten all their names because it's been so long. But Kim Dickens and Walker decide to go off together. Like the two,
You're gonna leave.
she's not really that. She's not that diplomatic. Jake is like the most diplomatic, but his influence is definitely on the decline. And she and Walker decide to go on a road trip together. Like, sense?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
It's very next generation. Like the away team is the captain, the first officer, and
it's
the
like yeah, let's
you know.
let's like take away all the leaders and just see what leave the kids at home for now and see what happens.
And the results are so predictable.
Yes.
It's nice to see Madison Clark, and Walker like solidify and build their relationship. That's cool, but I feel like they're doing it at the expense of everybody else in the cast.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think we can move on into the next episode pretty easily, given that that's where most of the action kind of takes place, where most of the
Well, there's the big firefight also in the first episode where, and this is another. Can I real quickly? It's Nick, like persuades, or when Troy decides he's gonna shoot his way out and not give up his guns, and Nick is like, "I'll take care of this."
Yeah.
And then Walker interprets that as, "You took his side. You're a bad person."
Yeah, that was weird.
I'm like, wait. And then he gets him to surrender. Like, yeah, some people are shot and some people are stabbed, but nobody dies in this conflict.
Well, what's also
Even though
weird
it's-
about all of this is that, okay, the weird thing with Nick and Troy, they have not really established the fact that Troy trusts Nick that much. Troy kind of like tries to egg Nick on and sort of like does weird shit with him, but like weird brotherly sort of stuff. But there's never this indication that Nick has any kind of negotiating power with Troy. Maybe
Yeah.
Madison
and
does.
Nick's
Maybe Madison.
position, yeah,
But not-
Madison has way more leverage, and Nick's position all throughout both of these episodes is always trying to de-escalate,
Right.
and it seems like it's weird that he ends up with as much juice as he has with the militia in the next episode,
Yeah.
just because he was like by association with Troy.
Right.
All he's doing at the entire two episodes, for the most part, until one scene, is like, hey, no, let's not try to be dicks.
Yeah.
And which is weird, like that he's definitely going against the flock, the herd mentality of xenophobia, which is kind of the gist of what we're looking at here in these
Well,
two
right,
episodes.
and your point is good. Why would they listen to him then, since he just continually is like, "Oh, hey, just take it easy," like I don't know. It's a little strange. It almost feels like there's like scenes that were cut that they didn't do, or they're just expecting us to make that leap without any sort of evidence. But that, like, just what you were saying about that there was no exposition about them moving all in together, I felt like a lot of that with Nick's influence with the militia. Like, it just felt a little too easy that they would just come to, oh, you hung out with Troy. I mean, like, and maybe that was the whole point of punishing him, but then you need to have somebody see him somehow do something in league with Troy or something. Like, what they know of that he went in to negotiate with him is all they really knew. And so that for them to then be like, oh, you took his side and we're going to punish you was a big leap. And like, to me, it would have made more sense if someone had heard him like somehow negotiating with Troy or saying, hey, you know, if you get out of here, we'll take over the ranch or something. But that's not what happened. So, yeah, kind of, to me, it's like sloppy writing and storytelling there.
Yeah, they just, and I feel like we're all tired of this conflict between these two groups of people, but to me, it's just pessimistic, and that makes me like uninterested in it a little bit. I'd rather see people get along, and maybe that's silly and naive, and I'm just like, why can't we all just get along?
Well,
But
I mean, I would have liked to
we've
have seen, I mean, and granted, that's not what Otto built, and maybe that's the point that they're trying to make. But I would have hoped to have seen a little less of the xenophobia after Otto was gone, because basically the elders are gone, because Otto and the people who founded that place are all dead. And, you know, they don't, it doesn't seem like everybody else has this viewpoint, but maybe they do, and we're just not seeing it as
well,
much.
I mean, they certainly didn't enjoy the Clark's company, and those are a bunch of blonde white people.
True.
When they first showed up, they were just as mean to them,
Yeah.
or mean. But yeah, so in the second episode, the Diviner, it's in two places. It's at this market that they find in Mexicali in a stadium, which is this weird like Mad Max Thunderdome type scenario. And then we also had some scenes at the dam in the first episode, but those are fairly inconsequential, other than the fact that
They're just reminding you that they're there, right?
And the lovely populace of northern Mexico seems to be turning into not quite so lovely.
Yeah.
Because they're throwing rocks at our happy, kind water provider people. But so we get reunited with Strand in the second episode, which is nice, even though he's always trouble.
He's always trouble, but still likable. Like, and Madison just can't let him go. She just can't quit him.
Yeah, she pisses off Walker. I'm sure we'll reap the rewards of that by spending all of the gold coins. Where did he get those? I don't know.
Yeah,
but she spends all of his money on saving Strand instead of buying water.
Yeah, but also, do you think? Okay, so here's my like just sort of logical question: if the whole way that this little like market works, if you've got that much gold or whatever, I can't see them like being straight with you and actually giving water. I could have seen them not delivering the water. Like, they basically seem to not have it, but they definitely wanted the gold. Like, I just feel like it isn't a plausible thing for there to be an actual honest exchange of goods. And you're like kind of locked in there. They've got your weapons. You're in a very weakened state, like in a vulnerable state when you walk into that market. I don't know. I just felt like it just felt like an environment just very much open to double crossing at all times.
It seems like the proctor and the people who run the market are third parties to the vendors inside. So in a way, like, they provide the safe environment to make these kinds of risky deals. That's one way that this could work.
Maybe, but it just felt, I wanted to know, I guess part of me would just want to know a little bit more about it, and maybe they're teasing that out because they kept teasing who the proctor was, so who's it going to be, you know?
Watch the governor just walk up.
Glenn. And then the other thing that I just found definitely implausible, I mean, Madison's super excited to see Victor, but she knows better. She knows what he's into. She's not going to, like, put her neck out on the line that quickly. I don't see her just, like, driving into that situation and getting into a fight immediately, especially when they're negotiating for water for all their people. So that felt very contrived and strange to me.
She does sell it in the end by saying he knows where there's a dam and he's going to take us there.
True. But she didn't know that when
That's
she rescued him.
not necessarily. I feel like they did mention it, but yeah, it's pretty sketchy. And Walker's gonna have every right to be like. And this is a guy, man. Like the whole Terrence thing, where Terrence shoots a guy, but I don't think that guy is killed. I think he's shot in the arm.
Yeah.
And then Terrence's throat is crushed by Crazy Dog.
Mm-hmm.
But Walker still comes out of that exchange in Minotaur like, hey, we have clearly been done wrong, and we need
Yeah,
we need
it's
to
like,
take
the
steps
kid's
to take
gonna
over the
die.
camp. Dude, you want justice? Guess what? Justice has been served and then some. You've crushed a teenager's throat.
Right.
Congratulations.
Right.
I did not enjoy the disproportionate response.
Agreed.
And like then the complete takeover by the Black Hats. I thought that was kind of unwarranted.
Yep.
And by the time we get to the next episode, I don't know, it's like he left Crazy Dog in charge with a couple of guns for deputies, but then by the end everybody's walking around with shovels and, and sticks because they're just like, it's war.
Yeah. And then
it's a very frustrating.
But then also to see the disproportionate response, and you're going to leave Crazy Dog in charge again, the decision for both Taka and Madison to go out alone, without these people knowing that these tensions are there, I just don't buy that they would have made that decision, but okay.
It's not only that, but they also institute rationing, and they're like, all right, we're going to have rationing, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You can't, that's not going to work.
No. And so that's going on, and then, you're gradually, like, you finally tell the people that, what did you think that the result was going to be when you told them that the well was going to run out? Of course they're going to have, like, total market panic.
You think Alicia screwed up there?
I don't know that she screwed up, but, I mean, I just, again, think that it just seems like, okay, we know people are doing this stuff with the water. Let's institute this system that could work so people can't, and have other people be, instead of people getting their own water, just have people sort of doling it out, because that's what rationing is. Like, it seems weird if you're this concerned about the rations that there isn't a system in place to basically make sure that people have the water. I don't know.
And Nick only makes things worse by getting all militant up in the face and becoming like the new Troy.
Yep.
It's a very frustrating episode because nobody's making the right decisions, except for maybe Alicia. I'm down with Alicia telling people that there's a water problem, because I believe that people are, grown-ups are grown-ups, and they should be able to act like grown-ups. Maybe that's being too optimistic.
I was fine with her telling people about the water. It just shouldn't have been right in that moment, maybe. But and then the whole thing with the Black Hats taking over the entire well, like, come on, it just is doing things that are kind of crazy. And then the whole idea that the militia is going to come back and take over stuff with sticks and all that stuff doesn't make sense either.
Yeah.
And then, I know it's all to get to this point where they're all working together to dig another well to nowhere together, but it just was really weird to me.
It's, the final scene is a bit kumbaya, and I guess maybe I should not want kumbaya when that is what we are. That's how it works out. But it's because they built to this climax of, all right, we're going to rush the adobe. And it seems like it's just Crazy Dog and Ophelia in there. I don't know. Maybe there were a couple of other people. Claw was in there too. Yeah. But there's like only 3 of the tribe's warriors
are in there,
ready to fight. But yeah, so then they, Nick is the instigator of walking away from the fight and going to help dig after Alicia was already there. So we have the Art Clark family still making the right call, but Nick was annoying insofar as he drove everything to this point. Right.
But he still thinks he's talking to them. Oh, at least they're listening to me. It's like, yeah, so if they're listening to you, you should probably de-escalate this thing. Too sweet. And then he just gives away his gun and helps to dig the well, which makes everybody want to go and dig the well. Timmy is not in the well.
The well hasn't been dug yet. Timmy might be down there.
He might be.
I came away pretty meh about the mid-season premiere.
I was meh about it. I did enjoy. There were moments that I did enjoy, and I did enjoy the moments between Victor and Madison. I thought,
that stuff was cool, even though it was like Mad Max. Didn't you feel like it didn't feel like Walking Dead?
It didn't, and I kind of liked that. I did like that he was going to have to work off his debt, and they had a whole system in place. I loved when, he has like a secret place somewhere in this arena for them to hide, but, I did like, he's just a likable actor and character, no matter what bad stuff he does. And this is what I would point to as some of the things that they should do or should have done with Troy, as opposed to making him this big bad, completely dark character. There's ways to do shades of gray, and so people feel conflicted about that character, such as they've done with Victor in a way they haven't done with Troy. So that was thing. One other just, I'm going to be nitpicky about this. Do you think that Walker really would have been caught that easily? Come on. I mean,
in the market?
Yeah,
you mean?
like, are they going to really see through his towel on his head because his master disguise?
I mean, do they have facial recognition software that they knew everybody's face who was involved in the original
right,
fracas?
like, it just seems to make no sense to me. But anyway, I just thought I did enjoy his master of disguise thing going on. That was pretty funny. He's like, okay, I'm gonna have a lollipop now, and wear this sheet on my head.
It was pretty ridiculous. But then, yeah, it totally became a different genre show at that point.
Yeah,
I really did enjoy the chaining up the forced labor part. I thought that was super cool, and I kind of wanted to see Strand do more of it. But then they
although, did you notice? So they chain him up at night, and I guess only in the morning is he really beset upon. So that was kind of cool. I like to see his fighting skills. It was nice that Madison's the one who bought his freedom. I kind of like that.
And we have the prospect of some sort of
reunion with Daniel.
Reunion happening for sure. And the like how is the introduction of Daniel into Ophelia's situation going to change things?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Are they gonna come to the dam? Is the dam gonna come to Brokejaw Ranch?
Right.
It will be interesting to see how it all boils down.
Right. It'll also be interesting to see just what Ophelia does with her dad at this point, or whether that's going to cause a lot of anxiety for her.
Now that so much of her identity is like, I'm a Black Hat tribe member.
Yep. It'll be curious. I'm curious to see that. So I'm looking forward to that kind of stuff. But yeah, that wraps up these 2 episodes, I think.
Yeah, we just dissected 130 minutes of Walking Dead in 30 minutes of podcasts. So way to go.
Woohoo.
Yeah. So after this, I guess we'll just keep doing some more Fear of the Walking Dead as they come out, and try to round out season 3 of Fear of the Walking Dead, and then we'll get back to virals, and we've got plenty of other good stuff coming down the line. Yeah. And hopefully we'll be podcasting more frequently.
Well, we will, and also Halloween season is coming up, so there should be a lot of good stuff out there.
Indeed.
So, well, until next time, drop us a note to tell us how much you missed us. At reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com, or send us a tweet, reanimatedpcast, or just visit our website and leave some notes, reanimatedpodcast.com.
You can also leave us a review on iTunes or anywhere that you hear this podcast, and there's a way to rate it. Let people know if you like it.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next flip.
Indeed.